slower man for a little bit, found him a little bit late. So, I don't think we have much that's going to stuff on the agenda tonight, so I think we should be able to do pretty good. Travis is here. I'm here, Travis. He froze up. I see him. There you go.
Hello.
There you are. Yep. Good deal. All right. Well, we'll wait the one minute.
Who are you?
Who are you? Those steaks look good.
Yeah, I want to shut the camera off.
So you can eat. It's gonna be.
I don't want to eat right.
Okay. It was a kid. We did shut it off.
Or I could put that on, whatever. I'll just make it. Take a seat.
All right. I got 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll start with a roll call.
Okay, Mayor Minnie,
Here.
Brenneman,
Here.
Keel,
Travis. Are you here, Travis? There you go.
okay, O'Hara,
Here.
Randall, here, Jones is absent with notice, and Monahan is running late.
Okay. All right. Do we have any motions to approve the agenda or additions to it? Yep. Motion to approve from O'Hara.
Second.
Second from Brownman. We'll have to take all votes one by one tonight, being we've got Travis virtual, so we'll go one by one all the way through. So, motion second, any discussion? All right. Randall.
Yes.
O'Hara.
Yes.
Brownman.
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
All right, do we have any motions to approve the minutes from 8/4 of 2020?
Motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of 8/4/2020.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Going on, we'll vote. Brennan?
Yeah.
Randall?
Yes.
O'Hara?
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
Okay. And bills submitted for payment. Any motions to approve or?
Approve.
Keel?
I'll second.
Second from Brennan. Discussion. Hearing none? O'Hara? Randall?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
Alright. Public comments. Do we have any public input on any non-agenda items? Hearing none? Okay. We're a little early for our 7:05 hearing, so Chief Schumacher, you get to come on up, we'll get you up here early.
Does that mean I get an early night?
You get an early night? Yep. Come on up.
You can stay if you want.
Thanks so much. All right. Well, Mayor, Councilors, good evening. Quick recap of July, 37 total calls, month of July, 13 of them in Hartford, still a fairly busy month. August is continuing on that pace. We're almost getting close to our last year's number already now. So Again, very busy year. Training side, from the EMS, we train on special health care needs and pain management. On the fire training, we put people through an emergency vehicle operations course, which we do require of all our members at least every 5 years, if not more often. So that's really what we have going. We have Public Safety Day coming up later on this month. So
Coming up later this month.
that's
28.
something like that, yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks a lot. Okay, we're just gonna wait one moment here. So, there's 705 hearing special event application, was Central Junior Achievement Beanbag fundraiser. Got everything in our packet, anything you'd like to add, Mr. Conker?
Good evening, Jesse Funk, 2 Parkey Drive. I think that the city should have a few teams entered in on this tournament this year. I think specifically Public Works should have at least 2 teams.
Only 4 team.
Sure. No, same thing as last year. We're proposing down Main Street, doing the JA Beanbag fundraiser, challenging year for fundraising, and we're trying to lift this event up, make it a big one. So I think we're on October 2nd downtown, and I'm going to encourage you all to join and have teams with your businesses or your neighbors or friends or colleagues. It'd be great to have you all out there drinking beer produced here in Hartford and celebrating the kids.
That's good, I like that.
Good combo.
Be fun to have a staff team and a council team. Just one of each.
I think that's a superb plan.
We'll take it.
Any other questions for me?
What time to start?
We are, good question. Street closure starts at 4 p.m. Or I think we're starting at 5:30. And we pick them in bags by 6, right? Yeah. Blair's also in the committee. He's the planning chair this year.
All right, do we have motions to approve?
So moved. Motion to approve application, waive the fee.
Second from O'Hara. Okay. More discussion? Vote. Randall?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
O'Hara? And Keel.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's great.
Appreciate it.
Yep. that's
Great night.
Yes, you take it.
We'll get the barricades out for them, so.
Barricades way out and all.
Thank you. If you have any questions, you may call and we can chat about that too. Or maybe I can come down and talk. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We'll tell you what, we get that knocked out. I'm showing 7:08. So, Mitch, your report.
Report-wise, I didn't have anything specific that I wanted to point out beyond what was in here. I did have a couple follow-up items from, I was not at the last meeting, but the meeting prior to that. Mark, I think you had asked about concrete washout facilities. I followed up with Teresa last week just about what the city's regulations we feel they say and what's required out there. The regulations don't require a specific site for them to put all of their, like for the home builders and whatnot, to put all their debris from concrete in one spot. It does have language in there, from what I understand, that it requires any debris to be contained to their lot and disposed of lawfully.
Okay.
So that's how your standards currently read. I followed up with Sioux Falls. They do have some language that do require some, that the developers put up like a facility, I guess, a pit that we can all discharge to. When we review our plans, some developers do call out those concrete washout facilities. But after talking to them, it's more meant for the street crews when you're doing curb and gutter, not necessarily the home builders. So right now, you don't have that requirement, it's just, it's the onus is on the builder to clean the site, just like he has to clean up the shingles and any other loose debris that you might have out there. And then I understand at the last meeting, there was some discussion about striping on Vandemark. So I looked into that. You know, it is a minor collector, it doesn't necessarily require striping, but if you wanted to add a center line stripe or something, that could sure be done. If you added a center line skip or something, I'd probably consider adding turning lanes down at Highway 38. You could get a left turn lane and a right turn lane straight through as well. You could take it a little bit further if you wanted. You'll see some minor collectors, like 32nd Street and Sioux Falls, and what I kind of think of. It's got a center line skip, and it's got white shoulders, solid white shoulders to delineate kind of the parking.
Sure.
On that side, kind of dresses it up a little bit more. But I didn't know what the appetite was to. Yeah. I'd say a center skip and a turn lane would probably be on that Vandemark Avenue, probably be $2,500, $3,000 or something.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Do we have anything on the,
I would entertain you guys think about this a little bit, because we're gonna try to slurry seal that next year. So
okay,
if it's striped, that means we have to grind it off and then restripe it again, so it costs a lot more money to basically be throwing away money this year
Right.
for next year. This way, I mean, if nothing else, like you were saying, the turning lanes, we've got the sprayer, we've got the arrows and stuff like that, so we can certainly just do that with an epoxy paint, or not epoxy, but just regular water-based paint. That will pretty much wear off in a year. Plus, you can seal coat over top of that. Epoxy, you have to.
you have to grab it.
And yeah, anything that we stripe anymore, I would recommend the epoxy paint on, just because it lasts. The other stuff just does not last.
Sure.
So,
We're just talking at 38 in Vandemark, or,
38 Vandemark, yeah.
but then going with the center straight to the north on Vandemark?
Yeah.
I mean, we could certainly do that ourselves, just if we
But when
want
I'm
to do
going to
something.
slurry sealing Vandemark north of 9th, will we?
We'd do from 38 all the way up to the gravel next year. We always try to seal them up within a year to 2 years after they get done.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good to know. Yeah, and I wonder if there's a way to put it on any other, if we got any other striking things coming up after that we
Yeah, you could.
can tag on with it all.
Yeah, again, if
We're
they've
doing,
got the equipment, I mean, the center line skip is,
yeah, we could certainly lay that out if you wanted something for this year, just to see how it is and that, and when we slurry seal next year over top, if we didn't like it, we could just not do it.
Sure.
And then along with next year's plan with budget, we'd be doing Mickelson, which we're gonna have painting on that.
yeah.
So we'd just add the quantities on that we need for, Vandemark there, and just have it all brought in the same project, so. So depending on what we did too,
Do you
change our budget.
Do you have anybody come in and do any striping like on second or anything, or you guys?
We usually do that
all
ourselves,
too?
yeah.
Well, that's interesting, yeah, I wasn't here for that discussion, but I can understand why that came up. The bigger one.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have,
Turning lanes would be nice on there.
you're gonna have new access points coming in there with driveways for some of those lots getting built, so that's gonna change a little bit too, how people drive through there. Once those get developed.
Makes sense. Okay. That's good. All right.
Any
anything
questions
else?
on the report? Okay, do you just want to stay up for the next item?
Tell you what, yes, we'll stay right up here, so 7:10, first reading of ordinance 691, subdivision regulations.
Do you want to introduce them? Well, we took your comments from the last meeting, and made some updates from what you saw last time. Took them to planning and zoning at their last meeting, had them review them. What we changed from last time is we added that 6-month minimum condition, so I'm looking at A11 and Article 25, the asphalt paving item. I rearranged it a little bit just because now we've got basically 3 conditions that we're trying to satisfy, I guess, that they have to satisfy. So you can see A is just one, we're still referencing the construction season, which is defined in the document, in the definition section. They have to wait 1 construction season, has to expire from the date of all underground infrastructure is installed, and they have to wait a minimum of 6 months from the date of underground infrastructure installed. And we have to, city representatives have to conduct an inspection of the bottom of the asphalt and appropriate repairs are complete.
I think that covers it. Okay. Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 691.
Second.
Second from O'Hara. Discussion? None, we'll vote. Brennan?
Yes.
O'Hara? Yes. Randall?
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
Perfect, yes, thanks a lot, Mitch. Alright, with that, we'll move down to Craig's report, Public Works.
I just got a few things to add and stuff like that to it. So just for clarification on the striping on Vandemark, do you want me and Mitch to kind of look that over and see what we can do for this year for striping of it, or?
Yeah, if it's that water-based, then you can do it in-house, I don't see an issue with that at all.
Turning lanes, I think.
I
would
think,
be
especially by
very-
Highway 38 there,
Yeah.
just to get that, because that's like goofy wide.
But we don't have room on getting like the 9th for turning, do we?
That's, I don't think you have enough turning on that to
No.
justify it.
So there you're just talking about center and,
Maybe just some strike back, just part. way
Yeah,
or something like that.
do just a center skip all the way up there. And then you don't do anything through the intersection, and people will be able to turn in right or left as
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look at that and do some temporary stuff for that for now, and then, like I said, then next, we can see what we like, if we like it or not. And then next year, when we get done with slurry sealing, we can add permanent, more permanent paint or something.
Sure.
Okay, we'll look into that. Along with streets, over, I'd say probably the last 3 years, we've been getting some inquiries. I know Jeremy's talked to me before, Vaughn's talked to me about it, another council member last year. Up on Opal and Crestman up there, it's kind of a dangerous intersection with that, Crestwood Estates sign right there. And we put some yield signs up a few years ago, trying to, hopefully that would take care of the issues up there. Over the last week, I've had 3 homeowners call me just concerned. A couple of them said speed, and I said, we don't put them up for speed control. That's a deputy, so I already got the deputy up there, we got the speed trailer up there. And as I talked to him, I said, if we sign it, I wanna sign it for the future in the right way. Which would mean that Opal, basically, east and west would have stop signs. The other one would have a through street, which at this time looks goofy because it's a dead end, half a block down to the south. But I would say within probably next year or the year after that would probably be a through road that goes back up all the way to Western Avenue. Up there by the hotel area. So,
Sure.
I guess I'm okay doing that. I just wanna make sure you guys have no objections to do it and do it the right way and have it done with. When I talked to the homeowners, that's the way it would be in the future. They were all okay with that. They thought it'd be a good idea, so.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and we'll start working on that, getting that set out.
Did they mention, is that the one, there's a bus stop right in that area too, or the bus stops there, I believe?
Could be, we usually get a list of bus stops. I haven't got one yet this year, but I think there is one up in that area, so.
Okay.
And I've even going up there with the yield signs, I know in a pickup, it is kind of a tough site. I might even have that one tree that we planted up and removed, just so I'm gonna have to look and see how the stop sign is exposed once they come around that corner there, so.
Sure.
We'll take a look at that, so.
Okay.
So we'll address that. The next thing on, Teresa informed me, and I did get a letter or get an email from June Hansen. We do now have, Turtle Creek as a name for our creek, so. Finally done. A year and a half.
It's renamed.
So it is named now, and I've got signs on order, so we'll get them put up when we get them, so.
Nice job. That's great.
So that is there. I think we're done with the slurry seal, everything went well there. Really, I had a lot of phone calls, just kind of asking about parking and stuff like that. Only had one person with kind of more of a complaint, was because he didn't get a letter. Well, he lived like 2 blocks away from the construction, so, so that was the only one that I had that was kind of wondering why he didn't get a letter. So I said, well, you're not really in the project.
Yep.
So it
Looks great.
went well,
Yeah.
budget numbers were right where we need to be with it and everything like that, so all the numbers came in good. That's all I really have in my report. Then I have one item that I would like to, action item, I guess. I talked to Teresa, earlier, about a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, with the additional trucks and, personnel, trying to get the equipment in where it's heated. Over the past, we've always had backhoes and payloaders and that stuff on the other side, and just keep them plugged in, because we need them, but they're not, the payloader is essential, but the backhoe wasn't real essential to get out in the winter time. Now we got the other truck, we're gonna be running out of heated space. We do have a 40 by 40 section in our main shop that is dirt floor, cold storage. It is wired and everything like that, so that's all done. And I was gonna bring it up at budget time to have that taken care of. Well, we got to talking about it a little bit more. We couldn't find any money that we saved this year in different areas to use toward this, so I was gonna bring it up to budget, and we thought, I said it should be nice to have it done before winter hits. So I'm bringing that forward. I'd like to, ask for some money to concrete it, do the insulation, the walls on the inside, insulate the ceiling, get ceiling panels in, and put a heater in that. And that came to right just shy of 22,000, but looking over the numbers, I think we can knock down some of these. I think we could probably insulate ourselves and knock down a few thousand there. We would do our own concrete work. Alan does a lot of concrete work, so he's good at that, so we'll be saving all that. Pretty much all the work that we'll be doing ourselves, except for installing the heater because of electric codes, so.
Sure.
So I guess I'm entertaining the idea of maybe possibly doing that this year.
Percentage-wise, how much finished area is that at for you there?
It's a 40 by 40 area,
So
so.
40 by 40?
Yeah, so we could easily put, probably 1 or 2 dump trucks in there. And then backhoe in there and skid steer, we can get a skid steer or 2, so. We've got some other equipment like the vac trailer, which we need water for, the jetter we need water for. So all that stuff has to be inside, and that all takes up room, because if you have an emergency backup, a sewer or something like that, or a water break, and you need to jet out a valve to get that cleaned up. So that stuff has to stay inside, and them are trailers that take up some room for us. I mean, we can kind of stuff them in different corners, but we do have everything else we get stuffed into the cold storage side, so.
Sure. How big is that entire building?
The whole building's 40 by 160.
Okay.
The 40 by 40 on the west end of it, we will keep that for partial cold storage, plus we have our salt sand on that side,
Okay.
so. Thanks, guys.
So you have been just plugging them in, or?
We've been just plugging the equipment in over that side, yeah. And now we've got the 2 more dump trucks, which we'd be running. We would actually take one of the dump trucks out of snow, we'd keep it for snow removal just for hauling purposes. And that's something that we could keep plugged in, either in the cold storage side, then where the salt sand is, or find another spot for it. And then just fire that one up ahead of time, let it warm up good before we start hauling snow. It doesn't have a lot of hydraulics with it, which
Right.
addresses stuff to hydraulics, because they get so cold in the winter time, they just don't wanna operate right, so.
What budget would we take a look at this for, Karen?
general, it has to come out of street, or public buildings, sorry.
Public buildings,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's
And-
probably a stretch for, you know, any of the water or sewer or anything like that.
Might
really
be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there
We
equipment?
talked about sewer backups and generators and backhoes, I mean, all streets versus sewer.
I mean, we do store stuff
I
in
mean,
there.
just- We're out of room, we have to do whatever.
Right. How do we sit on that budget? To get funded
So we
and
don't
pay it
got
every year?
22,000, that's why Craig's bringing it up to you.
Yeah.
So we would
Yeah.
have to make a motion to add it into the budget and
Add
do
it
a
in.
supplemental appropriation if you guys wanna do it. I mean, we have money in reserves.
Yep.
Luckily, but, but it's not in budget, so you guys would have to make a motion to add it if you want to allow them to go ahead and do that this year.
Personally, I don't think you can go wrong doing a lot of that work yourself and adding to your own infrastructure there, your own building. It's only gonna keep your equipment better. It's tough on stuff to keep it outside.
Yeah.
Warm and freezing.
You have time to do it, I mean, you're losing summer stay now.
I lost it a couple weeks ago.
You already gone, okay.
We'd be able to get it in, I'd just pretty much turn Alan loose on a lot of it and let him get started on it. Everything was going, so.
I'll make a motion to approve request.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none? A vote, Randall?
Yes.
O'Hara?
Yes.
Brumman?
Yeah.
And Keel?
Yes.
Alright,
All right, thank you.
you bet.
That's all I have in my report unless somebody has something for me.
That looks great, nice job, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright, Karen, we'll move to your report.
Yeah, and unless you have questions, I don't really have anything to add, so basic stuff.
Nope, I don't. Anything else? Alright, thanks, Karen.
Sure.
Teresa?
Just a couple things I want to point out in my report. The budget meeting, I have Tuesday of my report, it's next Wednesday. 26th is right, but it's Wednesday the 26th. There's P and Z on Tuesday, so it'll be next Wednesday. On Friday, you'll get an agenda and packet of information just like you do for, you know, all these council meetings. So, encourage you to take it, look at it early. There's a lot of figures, a lot of information there, and let me know if you have any questions or any of it. I'm crunching figures all this week, so I'm busy with budget. Craig had his input, Karen's really helping me put numbers together, so, like I said, it should all be ready for you on Friday, to take a look at it, and like I said, our meeting will be on Wednesday then, next week for that. Just gave you some updates on grants. We did receive our FEMA grant for a generator that we'd like to put out at the lift station along Mickelson Road and Turtle Creek. So that did get approved from FEMA. It got approved from the state, went to FEMA, they approved it. Haven't heard anything on the storm shelter yet. That's the other grant we have in with FEMA. That's kind of a more complex project, so I'm hoping they're just taking their time with it. We're not getting a rejection letter, so. Haven't heard anything, so we'll see what happens there. I thought Brian might mention, but we finally got it set up with Knockbox to get the lock boxes for keys for businesses. So that system's all in place. So I'm working with Brian both here, being the code enforcer, to get a letter together to send a letter out to affected businesses and let them know what they need to do if they want to have that key system for the fire department. And I guess the other thing is that we're going to be implementing a new phone service here. Me and Karen sat in on a conference call with, it's through Verizon, it's called One Talk, but basically we sat down and went over the features we have now with our current phone system and what they could offer. And they'll be able to offer everything we have now plus more. You know, caller ID, no long distance, 6-way conference calling. The best thing I like about the system, or we like, is that there's an automatic receptionist, and we'll all have our own individual voice now, so if you want to leave a message for me, you can. Right now, we got one box, and everything goes to there, and we've got to check it once a day, so that'll be nice to get that set up. The one-time cost is only $550, so it's in our budget, nothing we have to add. We'll get that going, and then after that, the yearly cost of it, it's actually less. The monthly cost, it's I think about $30 less a month for a system. So we're getting more features, we're saving money, so we're switching, so just let you know that. I will, after this meeting, get a hold of them, we'll get that implemented, but hopefully that will be implemented shortly here. And that's all I have, unless you guys got questions.
So on that system, did you ask them about what happens if the internet goes down?
We will lose them, because they do work through the internet system now.
Right, I have the system at work, so I'm very familiar with it.
You know,
So Verizon has an option that you should get, where if the internet connection goes down, it'll switch to Verizon's network, providing the Verizon network's up. But if Golden West cuts a line or whatever and you're out of internet, it'll switch over automatically to the cell towers.
okay. And this does come with the app
Did say there's an app. we
to
can
switch
put
it to
on
your
our
cell phone.
phones.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's internet based, so if you don't have internet, you have to find internet somewhere to roll it over, have call forward and all. Just
Gotcha. Okay, I'll check in that. Yep.
trust me.
No,
Trust me.
it's coming into your data line. And,
Yeah, because it is coming through the data line now.
And that's really cheap if I remember too, right, Mark?
It's $10 a month.
Yeah.
It's well worth it.
Just to have that. Okay. Perfect, yeah, we'll definitely do that.
You can plug that phone in anywhere, connects to internet. It's just like you're sitting at your desk.
Okay. Sounds good.
So it'll be a whole deal all the time.
We can turn off the app. Yep, all right.
That's good, thank you. Good job with that too. Any other questions? All right, we're gonna move to old business. We got the updated draft of the RFQ. Wastewater treatment facility.
So,
Go ahead.
I'll just say, so with this, like I put in my report, basically, originally we called it a proposal, so mainly the only changes in it has been to change the wording from proposal to qualification, a request for qualifications from engineering firms. All the other wording stayed the same, except I did change the due date from September 15th to the 30th to give a full month for any firm that's interested to get it. It sounds like that's a proper or an adequate time frame for it. I can check around with that. So those are basically the only changes, wording changes, I mean the proposal itself. We talked last time about how we get the word out, and so checked with the municipal league. They are advertising it's going to come out in the next issue of their magazine, which is coming out next week. Plus, it's on their website to basically direct them to get information from us. We can advertise it, check with the Water and Wastewater Association. They will advertise it for us. And then I came across and contacted DNR, has a really comprehensive list of engineers that are licensed within the state. There's like about 40 engineers on it. And when I looked through the list, other sites that listed engineers that either advertise with them or do business with them, about every single one of them was on there. There wasn't one that wasn't on there. So I'm just proposing we do direct mailings of the proposal to these engineers. That way, I think that'll hit, all the ones that are licensed in the state to do it, and those that are interested can submit a proposal. Those that aren't, don't have to. So I think that would get the word out pretty good. I've already had a couple inquiries about it. I said, well, I want to make sure everything's okay with my council, then we'll formally put it on our website for viewing, so.
Thanks, sounds good. Yeah, you need a motion for this?
Yeah, well, if you could just approve it, I think that'd be good, and then we will get them mailed out.
Any motions?
Travis.
motions, Keel?
I'll make a recommendation to advertise as presented. The middle vice commercial.
Irene,
Sorry. Yeah, I'll second that.
second. All right, discussion. Council Monahan, here. First item under old business, request for proposal. Yes, yep.
As presented.
As presented.
So the only comment I have is the last time I looked at it, can't remember the verbiage, but I believe on the point system it was 25% for, call it whatever you want, local or, and I don't think that's enough personally. That's my only comment on the whole.
Any other comments? Okay. Now we'll vote. O'Hara? Randall?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yeah.
Monahan?
No.
And Keel.
Yeah.
All right, we move to new business. We've got the Envision 2025 campaign update and Peter's Valley Energy Budget proposal. Al?
Thank you,
Oh, sir.
Mayor and Council. Good evening. Al DeVay, NCDS. The council has a document and packet showing alphabetical order status of the campaign, 23 written pledges that take us to 75.2% of campaign goal. We are running at 113% of investment over ask. The next block of accounts are pending a decision. They have been asked, and that amount will take us to 1.8 million or so. The next block of companies are scheduled for a visit, or about to be scheduled for a visit, with the value shown at about $497,000. There are then another 23 accounts with whom we are setting appointments that should take us at least to goal. So we're working hard to get those appointments made and done. Point number 2, one of the significant investments we heard about was the investment by Sioux Valley Energy. Both Blair and Gabe were on a call where Tim and his team made a formal proposal in response to our request for an investment. And that 3-point proposal included a yes to our $50K ask over 5 years, a $50,000 down payment once the business park location has been decided, to get going on the work that needs to be done to put their infrastructure in, and thirdly, an option, if we wish to exercise it, for a $50,000 loan at low cost to further aid the work of economic development in that new industrial park. So because they were formal about their proposal and very pleased to make it, we said that we would respond formally to that. And so the foundation has written a letter that's included in the packet that says we're very pleased to accept this, not only as an investment, but as a true partnership over the life of that investment. And if it please the council, we've drafted a letter so that in partnership with the foundation, it's recognized what the significance of the investment would be, and it might involve some paperwork if there's going to be a loan. And so, if that's a business matter that could be transacted, that would be appreciated. Third, Mark.
I motion to approve. Motion to approve the letter.
Second.
Discussion.
Comments?
Comments.
Eric Norman had reached out to me, intended to be there tonight, but because of the conflict with the school board, he wasn't able to attend, but if legislation that's got in front of the city council for review prior to the HADF approving it, but kind of sets the tone for some cooperation that Alan mentioned one time is not something he's seen lately, so it's a very generous offer, and HADF was extremely happy with it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I only have a question on the loan portion of it there, is that if it was exercised, would the HADF handle the administrative part of that, I guess, or does SUVA, or how am I understanding that piece of it?
I would assume we just submit draw requests, and if they would approve it, it would be reimbursed back to the HADF.
Okay.
Didn't really get into the weeds with it,
Yeah,
as well as just something that, if we're certain that we'll partake in, without a doubt.
sure. Makes sense. Okay. Other questions?
To Travis's point about the order, I've postdated the foundation letter to follow the city council decision to express appreciation.
I heard that.
So, is there a jail cell in this town? Prepared to check it.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion, otherwise we'll vote. All right, Monahan?
Yeah.
Brennan?
Yeah.
O'Hara?
Yep.
Randall? And Keel?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. You guys are killing it out there.
Two more small points.
Keep going.
Since we are at 75% of the goal, we're planning for some public relations information to the community about Envision 2025, and so we've talked to Ms. Voss and for the Minnehaha paper, and also to Jesse about the Sioux Falls Business Journal about doing a feature article. So we'll leak some information to the local press about there is a campaign, it is a public-private partnership, doesn't need to have any numbers in it. But then an article that would be prepared late September for publication with a cover page in October, which would be already paid for by the city subscription in that organization, in the regional organization. There would be some PR about the effort, and there would possibly be a celebration that would be tied into to the Jamboree effort that may occur at the end of September. We still need to talk to those folks about how we would put those two things together. And at the conclusion of the campaign in October, there would be a celebration of the campaign with all the investors being invited to a special event of some kind. Finally, Tom DeFiore made it to the foundation board meeting last week. Just a couple of comments. One is, the investor council needs to be established over the next 60 days or so. It needs to be the direct interface with the investors over the next 5 years. And secondly, he said, thank you to Hartford for giving us the opportunity to work with you. That's it, sir.
Well, thank you for working with
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Al. Thank you, both. That's great.
Absolutely.
That's good news. Good deal. All right. We're gonna move on to Hometown Christmas Committee, request for release of the 2020 allocated funds. It's kind of that time of year.
I don't see anybody here from the committee.
I was
Lisa,
like,
help me.
Blair's part of that?
Lisa contacted me, and yeah, it's getting to be that time of the year, and they're starting to make plans for the hometown Christmas. So we did budget 10,000, and so they are requesting that get released to them so they can start planning and paying for things for this year's event.
Everything's going great. Oh, we need the motion.
I motion.
Motion motion from O'Hara,
Second?
second from Randall. Discussion? We'll vote. Randall,
Yes.
O'Hara,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yeah.
Brennan,
Yeah.
and Keel.
Yep.
Alright. Alright, then we got a plan for the soccer teams out there to be on city fields. Glad they got that in, that's
Yep.
good.
I don't see anybody from them either. But their plan's in the packet. and-
Like, are you gonna think something?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm a spectator.
We have had a couple of coaches ask us about reserving fields, so I know they want to get going. I says, well, let's get the plan approved and you can start lining up practices and games. I did tell Matt Evan when he submitted this, actually I told him in the email a month ago, I said, they're gonna have to handle scheduling of fields, so that we're not gonna do it through our office without Nate being here or somebody, you know, in that position. We're just too busy to take that. Rhonda doesn't feel she can do it, and the association did it prior to a
I was
year
gonna say,
ago.
didn't
So
they
I
do
mean,
it?
it'll just
Yeah.
be going back to what they did until we figure out if and how, or we'll be able to do it through our office. So they are aware of that.
Okay. That's good. I think that plan looks great. Go ahead, motion to approve.
Motion to approve the soccer practices and games on city fields.
Second.
I'll second.
You're just a little short there, Travis. Brendan, gotcha. Alright, discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Brendan?
Yep.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Randall?
Yes.
O'Hara?
Yes.
And Keel.
Yes.
Alright. Motion carries. Next, we gotta discuss annexation of lot 3 in the Swenson edition.
This is in your packet and put on the agenda. It actually came up at the last HADF meeting that they had. Gabe's been working with some interested parties on that 5-acre parcel, and this is the 5 acres the city owns. It's right east of Central States where our dirt pile is. Like I said, we own 5 acres there, and Gabe's been working with different people that are interested in it. What came up at the HADF meeting is that, you know, if we were to sell that to somebody or whatnot, that property is still out in the county. City owns it, we just have not annexed it, and the reason for that is that when we purchased the land, there's 2 housing eligibilities on it. We, a few years ago, checked around to see if any of the adjoining property owners were interested in them. At that time, they weren't. I don't know if anything has changed with that, but we've just sat on those so we don't lose those eligibilities since we didn't need the land, because once you annex, you do lose those. But in light of being able to be quicker reacting or maybe be more appealing to interested buyers, it would be something, you know, if the land was already annexed, already zoned, that might be, like I said, more attractive to anybody that's interested. Because that annexation, the zoning, that's a couple month process there. So, you know, having the land already annexed, zoned, ready to go, that's appealing. So I guess it's up for the council's consideration if we want to forfeit those eligibilities and annex the land, or reach out once again.
So if we annex it, and somebody wanted to build a house there, they could, or 2 houses, or 3 houses, or 4.
Yeah, 'cause I
We
think
could-
we just need
annex
to
it,
wait.
We could, I mean, we could develop it however we
We
wanted.
can develop however we want. I mean, the eligibilities are gone, so I mean, it's just like city ground, we could
Yeah, so
put
I
it
could
into
build 2
lots.
houses on there if I wanted, if I bought it from the city, or 4.
Right. You just need a lot
Just
big
the
enough for
city
city
taxes versus rural
regulations.
Taxes is the difference.
Mhm.
I don't see why we wouldn't annex it. I'd be in favor of that.
Why make the eligibilities go away just because?
So you can.
I'm not opposed to annexing it in, but if you're gonna annex it in, you might as well just pass the eligibilities off to the neighbor for nothing, instead of making them go away.
You remember that?
Well, you could pass them to for instance, we can transfer them to Winterstein's, right?
Yep.
And that is it's an interesting, it's goodwill. You know what?
If we
Otherwise,
don't,
the county just, they erase it.
if we don't transfer them, they just go away. Because, what is it, 40, how many are on 40 acres, Craig, 4? Or 2?
One per 40.
1 per 40.
Can I make a comment on that? You know, one of the things we struggle with sometimes though is when we get a rural eligibility to construct it next to us and getting them to annex down the road. So in my mind, not having those eligibilities is probably good long term.
They can goof up a development in the
Yep.
future. That's the only bad thing about them, I mean,
Yeah,
they can throw, cause they can put a house wherever, and then all of a sudden you're building a town around.
And if they've got 2 already there, now they've got 4 or something, they could cluster them together and put a little rural subdivision there. I personally think you're better off just letting them expire and handing them off.
That's a good point.
yeah, that is a point I never thought of, cause yeah,
You know, it's
they could
something,
get a little
something-
development, they got houses in the middle of an industrial place you wanna.
It could be 10, 15, 20 years from now before we got developed around it, but look at Sioux Falls, when they started building out, they had to buy them houses out just to tear them down, to put the development in the way they wanted it. That's the only bad thing about giving them to somebody, I mean, if there would be some stipulations, you could say they gotta go on the far end of your land or something like that, but you couldn't put stipulations on
I
once you
don't
get them.
think you can do that.
That's the only bad thing about letting them go. I mean, I agree with Mitch too, kind of, I mean, I was always the one that we said we should hang on to and try to sell them, but if we gotta give them away, I think it could hurt the growth of the town in the future.
Does that ask go to the neighboring property or?
It has to be an adjoining property owner, yeah, so.
Did we have a motion in a second?
No,
Motion.
We have a
Annex
motion.
it.
Motion from Brendan,
Let Bruce wants an addition.
second from O'Hara. More
What was the
discussion?
motion? I'm sorry.
To, would it be to annex it or to start the annexation?
Oh, okay.
However you want to phrase it.
Okay.
In the grand scheme of things though, so the sports complex there, Central States is there, there's 5 acres up in that corner. Is it feasible that someday Winterstein is gonna be all residential?
I'd say down the road sometime.
Even if it is, it would be platted in as part of the city, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, if they're gonna do
But all-
residence, it'd be nice to have them in the city
Even,
versus
but
having.
even if there's 4 eligibilities, they're gonna put them on Oil Road, they're gonna put all 4 of them on Oil. I don't know why they wouldn't put.
Yeah, the issue becomes trying to get them to annex down the road. So now you've got ground out there that becomes where you can't get property tax from, and you have a hole in that parcel now.
There's gonna be 2 holes in a day.
If you forego the eligibilities, then you just reduce that risk of having future property in any adjacent property
Yeah, but there's already 2 eligibilities on that property, isn't there?
on Winterstein's.
Yeah.
I don't know offhand.
They probably got more than that on that.
Yeah. You know,
That's all, I mean, you're gonna have a 4 home problem or a 6 home problem? Again, I don't know.
I know that's why the county went with that, having those eligibilities like that, because they're getting these little Hartford Heights developing, and they really goof up future developments, and they're a nightmare for, like, the township has to take care of that and try to get the roads maintained and laid with the township's money. So that's why they kind of went away from those little pop-up
Well,
developments.
why do you think it quote unquote goofs up development? Look at Songbird Acres. When the city gets that out there, is that gonna goof up development? I mean, that's already developed. So what's your idea of development, having houses 15 foot apart, lined up in a row?
I'm more worried about having one thrown out over here, another one thrown out over there.
Me and you won't be here though.
I don't.
And there's a good chance, I mean, that Winter Street property is, it could be anything, it could turn into residential, it could be industrial.
It could be industrial,
Yep.
Yeah, and you're not, by foregoing eligibilities, you're not discouraging anything from growing there. Could be industrial, could be residential, but it would be within your city limits.
I don't know. I think it's,
And to be quite honest, if it was really gonna be a residential area, it would be annexed, and we would allow for it to be a residential area, you know?
Yeah, they want to be on
Yeah.
city services, you would
They'd
think.
wanna be on city
They're gonna put up
services.
quite a few homes.
Exactly.
You're not gonna have all them septic tanks out there.
Right.
If they had value, somebody would have inquired about purchasing them by now.
I agree. All right, any other discussion? Next, we'll vote. O'Hara?
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Monahan?
no,
Brenneman?
Yeah.
And Keel?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything for correspondence? Guys, I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session for legal personnel and
Just
legal
legal
personnel.
personnel.
Okay.
So moved.
Travis?
Yep.
Second, O'Hara? Okay. I have to vote. Randall?
Yes.
O'Hara? Yes. Brenneman?
Yeah.
Monahan?
yeah.
And Keel?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
We need a motion out to adjourn.
Make a motion to allow Craig Wigman to use his sick leave as requested.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion? Vote. Monahan?
Yep.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
Randall?
Yes.
O'Hara? Yes. And Keel?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Okay.
Yeah.
Brenneman?
Yeah.
Randall?
Yes.
O'Hara?
Yes.
And Keel?